In the dim light of a flickering candle, a man in a powdered wig dragged his quill across parchment. It was a simple signature, but it would ignite a financial revolution. At that moment, in the young United States, no one understood that the ink on this document would set the nation on a trajectory to reshape the world. Some say America became a superpower because of its land, its people, or its military. But the truth begins in a quieter place, inside a bank few trusted, in a country still learning how to stand. The year is 1790. The United States is only a few years old, bruised from war, drowning in debt, and unsure if this experiment in democracy will survive. Its economy is completely fractured. 13 states operate like 13 separate nations, each printing its own money, each following its own rules. Inflation is soaring. Confidence is collapsing. Merchants refuse to accept certain state currencies because they re-worth little more than the paper they reprinted on. Soldiers who fought in the revolution are holding government IOUs that nobody wants. Foreign nations look at the US and see not a future superpower, but a fragile republic teetering on the verge of financial ruin. Into this chaos walks a man whose mind works like a lightning storm. Alexander Hamilton. Immigrant. Orphan. Visionary. He believes that a nation's strength isn't built on the battlefield, but in its books, its debts, and its banks. Hamilton sees something no one else does. America will never stand tall unless it learns how to manage money like the great empires of Europe. And so, he forms a plan radical, controversial, and dangerous for a young nation so skeptical of power. He proposes something unheard of in the United States. A central bank, not just a bank, but a mechanism to unify the currencies, manage national debt, stabilize credit, and, if successful, quietly shift America from a struggling republic into a global force. But Hamilton knows that great ideas often attract great enemies. Standing in staunch opposition is Thomas Jefferson. To him, a central bank is a threat, a powerful institution that could corrupt the government, place too much control in the hands of wealthy elites, and drag the young nation into the same financial traps that crippled European monarchies. Jefferson fears that Hamilton's bank is not a tool of freedom, but a Trojan horse waiting to unleash tyranny. With the nation divided, the debate grows fierce and deeply personal. Newspapers erupt into attacks. Politicians whisper fears of a new monarchy. Citizens worry that the bank will favor the industrial North over the agricultural South. In taverns, farmers slam their mugs on wooden tables, asking, "Are we fighting a new king?" The tension is electric. The stakes are enormous. Yet, Hamilton pushes forward. He makes a promise not through emotional appeals, but through cold, hard logic. If we build trust, we build power. If we build power, the world will have to take us seriously. Finally, in 1791, after months of bitter battle, the first Bank of the United States is approved. It opens quietly in Philadelphia, its simple brick exterior giving no hint that inside, history is about to turn. The bank is more than just a building. It's a signal. It's a message to foreign nations that America can handle credit, repay loans, and manage its finances like a rising empire. From the moment the first bank begins operations, something strange happens. Government bonds, once practically worthless, begin to climb in value. Merchants, once skeptical, now trust federal notes backed by a unified system. Money becomes predictable. Trade becomes easier. The young American economy, once a wild and chaotic mess, begins to breathe steadily. This transformation doesn't stop at America's borders. When Europe watches this experiment succeed, their view of the US changes dramatically. Bankers in London, who were once dismissive, start offering loans at lower interest rates. Investors in Amsterdam begin treating the United States not as a financial risk, but as a nation with immense promise. Slowly, silently, the credibility of the US rises. Credit becomes power. Power becomes influence. And influence becomes destiny. Yet beneath the calm surface, a storm is still brewing. Jefferson's warnings continue to echo. He and his supporters claim the bank favors the wealthy, that it centralizes too much control, and that it's becoming exactly the kind of institution the revolution fought against. Farmers fear losing their land to powerful financiers. State politicians fear losing their autonomy. The bank becomes a symbol to some. It's a symbol of progress. To others, it's a symbol of betrayal. And then comes a twist no one expects. The first bank, despite its incredible success, has a built-in expiration date, a 20-year charter, a fuse quietly burning down. When the time comes to renew its charter in 1811, Congress is split right down the middle. Debates erupt all over again. Accusations fly. The bank's supporters warn that shutting it down will plunge the nation back into financial instability. Opponents insist that closing it is the only way to protect liberty. By a razor-thin margin, just one single vote, the first bank dies. Its doors close. The vaults are emptied. The grand structure becomes a lifeless shell. And almost immediately, the consequences begin. Without a central authority, money becomes chaotic again. State banks issue more notes than they can possibly support. Speculation fuels instability. Foreign nations start doubting America's ability to manage its own finances once more. And then, as if history were waiting for the perfect moment to strike, the War of 1812 erupts. The U.S. needs money, and it needs it fast. But without a central bank, borrowing becomes expensive and disorganized. The government struggles to fund the war effort. Inflation surges. Economic fear spreads across the nation like a disease. It becomes painfully clear the loss of the first bank has left America dangerously vulnerable. So, out of this crisis, a realization dawns. The very institution that was once criticized as unnecessary might be the only thing that can stabilize the nation. Just 5 years after destroying the first bank, the United States creates the second bank. The idea that Hamilton planted refuses to die. It has become bigger than its creator, bigger than politics, bigger than fear. This is the turning point, the moment the world begins to recognize something extraordinary. America can adapt. America can rebuild. America can learn from its own failures. And in that ability lies the true foundation of a superpower. What truly elevated the U.S. wasn't just the existence of a bank, but the system it unlocked: a unified currency, reliable credit, growing industry, and the confidence of global markets. This system allowed the United States to invest in infrastructure, in railroads, in factories, and in world-changing innovation. It gave the government the financial strength to survive wars, expand westward, and compete with the world's greatest empires. By the late 19th and early 20th century, the seeds planted by the first bank had grown into an economic giant. When Europe tore itself apart in World War I, America had the financial machinery to step in as a global creditor. When the world economy collapsed in the Great Depression, America built new frameworks to stabilize the system. When World War II reshaped the global order, America's economic engine, supported by central banking and controlled credit, allowed it not just to survive, but to lead the world. And today, the echoes of that first institution, the one born from controversy, fear, and vision, still shape the global economy. Every time the Federal Reserve adjusts interest rates, every time the US dollar strengthens or weakens, every time nations around the globe store their wealth in American bonds, they are witnessing the legacy of the first bank. It is a legacy built on the belief that a nation's true power lies not only in armies or borders, but in trust, in the invisible threads of credit, stability, and confidence. America did not become a superpower overnight. It became one the moment it learned how to command money, the moment Hamilton's idea came to life. A single institution that changed the world. And perhaps the greatest mystery is this: the first bank did not last, but its impact never died. Because sometimes, the most powerful forces in history are the ones that disappear, yet continue to shape everything around us. The story of how America became the world's economic superpower begins with a bank that no longer exists, but whose shadow still stretches across the entire modern world. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more hidden histories.